I want to do something on Nigerian civilization, and I found this book, Africa Cultural Atlas, and I found a great section on art and metalwork. So I'll give you some pictures and I'll read it to you. I hope you enjoy it. On Nigerian art bronze casting. So this is what it has to say about Nigerian bronze casting. Throughout Nigeria, there has been a long tradition of producing bronze statues, masks, and ornaments. These seem to have many centers of production. There has seemed to have been many centers of production. At Benin, a highly developed culture flourished in the 16th and 17th centuries before the slave trade caused a long decline. As well as bronze and brass casting, the Benin arts of fine ivory carving and woodworking are also renowned. When the Palace of Benin was looted by the British in 1897, great numbers of very high-quality bronze sculptures were taken. Most are now in British and German museums. A British official described what was stolen as a, quote, regular harvest of loot, unquote. And from the 1920s, quantities of metal objects were found in southeastern Nigeria, often at places where there was no traditional metalworking. The history of Nigerian bronze casting is far from complete. A new discovery could easily change the picture. Most of the huge number of metal objects known have been found accidentally, like the hoard excavated by Thurston Saul at Ekbo Ukwi in 1937, or, in the same year, the Ife bronzes found near the Palace of Ife. There is surely only a small picture of what must have existed. This picture here is described. This fine figure of a dwarf is one of the most lifelike found at Benin. It belongs to the earliest period, 16th century, and it is close in style to the Ife tradition. Ife is thought to have been the original home of the technique of bronze casting. This picture here, a plaque from the palace at Benin City. A 17th century Dutch traveler described the palace as having wooden pillars encased in copper, where their victories are depicted. This plaque from such a pillar shows hunters and leopards against a background of leaves. This ram, it looks funny because it's across 2 pages. I put this through the scanner. Also from Benin is this superb bronze ram's head. It probably dates from the 17th century and was an ornament on a belt worn by a chief. Most bronzes from Benin seem to have been for ceremonial use or for the ornamentation of the leading people. On the methods of bronze casting, bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. If zinc is used with the copper, brass is the result. If lead is added, the alloy is more easily worked. Lead, tin, and zinc are all found in Nigeria. Copper was imported perhaps from Nigeria. Most Nigerian bronzes were produced by a process known as the lost wax method. A clay core, an exact model of the final object, was covered with a layer of wax, and then with a layer of clay, making a kind of sandwich. The result, the cast was held in place with iron pins and sun-dried. The wax or latex was melted out through holes left in the outer clay, covering and replaced by molten bronze. When the middle had hardened, the outer clay was removed to reveal the bronze sculpture. Bronze casting at Benin and Ife. Benin City, by the 15th century, the center of a powerful state in the forest area west of the Nigeria Delta. Up to the present, there has been a continuous history of bronze casting. At Benin, the industry seems to have been at its height from the 16th to 19th centuries. Northwest of Benin, at Ife, the exquisitively fine, naturalistic bronze heads date back as far as the 12th century. These probably also relate to note terracotta earthenware sculptures which go back for another 1,000 years. An amazing number of skills must have existed among local peoples for such bronzes to be produced. First, the modeler or sculptor has to produce the clay and wax core. Then the metal casters sit to work. When the metal object is broken out of its clay case, it has to be filled down, smoothed, and finished. When we add to this the transparent port and production of the ores, it is clear that such work would only be produced in a prosperous and stable society, usually the king or chief, who was the sponsor or patron of this industry. This picture is described in the book. One of a group of bronzes from the lower Niger, full of lifelike detail. It shows a hunter returning home with an antelope slung over his shoulders, its legs tied. This picture is a horse rider with elaborate headdress in the rather stiff, coarse style of the mid-17th century. Bronze casting in Benin was under the direction of the Oba, which is leader. What you see here is a bronze statue of an African king, and you'll see many more beautiful sculptures in the movie that I linked, The King in the City, and I'll also give you some really good history. I highly recommend watching that. I also linked another movie on Nigeria today, and I highly recommend watching it. There's a lot of beauty in this country, in Nigeria. Now I hope you enjoyed it.